When I think of a career in finance, I think of one that is focused on gathering data and information, but then using it to make a decision. And I've heard many people talk about accounting and finance in one breath, but really they're opposite ends of the spectrum. Your accounting-focused careers are very much data specific. They're interested in getting the right answer. Finance careers are focused on taking that information and using it to actually make a decision. And so there's a decision-making component to finance that I think is really critical. The Twin Cities is one of the best markets in the country, in my opinion, for finance-focused careers. People don't think of us in that light necessarily. We're part of flyover country, but we really do punch above our weight. We have significant exposure to asset managers. We have some very large insurance companies, including the Travelers Company, which manages their investment portfolio out of St. Paul. Securian, which manages money for a life insurance company and other insurance companies, also out of St. Paul. We have Columbia Threadneedle, which is one of the largest asset management firms in the world. Nuveen, which is part of TIAA Craft. So there are many, many big asset management or insurance companies here in the Twin Cities. So we really do have a role to play because we have such an impact on each of those different areas of business. The state of Minnesota also is actually a fantastic state in which to do business. And I work with people at the state on some of their investment decision making, and so we really are at the forefront of also alternative strategies. So not just traditional equity and fixed income investing, but alternatives and private equity, venture capital, and all of those arise out of the vibrant business culture that we have here. So venture capital finds a home where people are doing interesting and exciting things in business. Okay, so I like to use the capital markets as the lens through which I'm going to think about opportunities within the financial services business. So the entry-level job for most careers, whether or not you want to go on the buy side or the sell side or even within the corporate entity, is going to be an analyst. The only question is, what are you analyzing? And so analyst roles are going to be focused on building spreadsheets and working with either portfolio managers on the buy side or with investment bankers on the sell side to vet the information that you are providing them within the spreadsheet. So think about analyst roles as being focused on data gathering, generating information that will help other people make decisions. In the next step, you might move, as you move sort of up the ladder in those different career paths, you're going to move from a data gatherer to a decision maker. On the buy side, that decision maker is going to be maybe a more senior credit analyst or a portfolio manager that gets to say, yes, I like this company, no, I don't. Yes, I want to buy this, no, I don't. On the investment banking side or on the sell side, that decision maker is going to have an investment banking role where they're going to be working more directly with the companies who are trying to raise capital. You can move up the ladder in those different chains, starting from a base of very, very similar skill sets. So you might think about the different career paths and the different skills that you need to be successful in those. So it may be similar skills on those bottom rungs, but then as you start to move up, you're going to need to develop very different skill sets. So the portfolio manager and credit focused disciplines, you may actually be more focused, continuing to focus rather on the spreadsheet and the model, and you may be a little bit more introverted. The people who are going to be successful on the investment banking side are probably going to be doing a lot more working with people. And so you have to be comfortable working in those two different types of environments. The entry level, it may not be quite as distinct, but as you go up the ladder, you're going to need different skill sets. So you really want to pay attention to, when you start in these careers, not just what are you doing at those different levels, but what is the next person up doing? And how do I want to, or do I want to prepare for those particular careers? Both of these firms will have, or both of these types of businesses will also have traders who are maybe sitting at a desk and trading securities all day long. I think those are pretty similar, even whether you're on the buy side or the sell side. If you like video games, you probably like trading. Maybe if you like a little bit of adrenaline rush, you probably like trading. You're going to have different objectives on the buy side versus the sell side, but they're very similar types of positions. And then if you look at the traditional corporate finance roles versus these more capital market roles. So the corporate finance roles are probably insulated a little bit from the capital markets because they're usually working through their investment bankers. So there's an intermediary between the corporate finance positions and the capital markets. And then the same is going to be true to some extent on the saver side, or the pension plans, insurance companies, or foundations. They will to some extent work through their asset managers to access the markets. But I think some of the roles that you see at insurance companies, pension plans, foundations, endowments are probably more connected to the capital markets roles than you see on the flip side. I think a lot of people think it is going to be all Wolf of Wall Street, which it is not. I mean, there may be an element of that in some very narrow parts of the market, but most of the people who are involved in finance are actually, first of all, a little bit nerdy. So the sort of image of someone sitting at a computer working on a model, that's kind of real. We're quiet people. We're not really prone to sort of the big party scene. So I think that may be one of the misperceptions that we're dealing with. And in fact, I personally believe that over the last couple of years, in the sort of post #MeToo era, I think women in particular are more skeptical of finance careers for that very reason, that they see that as intrinsic to the image of a finance career. And I really don't believe that that's true, but I understand where some of those cultural misperceptions come from. So I think the finance industry has a little bit of work to do in terms of rehabilitating its own image. And one of the things I've tried to tell many, many students is that you may think this is all about people who are interested in enriching themselves, and that's again part of where the misperception problems come from. But think about the University of Minnesota. The University of Minnesota relies upon an investment portfolio to generate a certain amount of income to support student tuition. Any foundation or endowment out there relies upon an investment portfolio for it to fulfill its mission. So all of the clients that I have ever had in the investment business have depended upon good asset managers and strong people trying to do the right thing on behalf of their clients. And so I really wish students understood how important it is for organizations to fulfill their social missions to have solid people making the decisions about their investments. Daily reading, you've got to read the paper every day. Even if you don't want to be in finance, read the Wall Street Journal, read the New York Times, read the Financial Times, read something every day because they give you a window into what's going on in the world. Even if you're not sure about finance, read some of the papers every day. In addition to reading those sources, I really like Bloomberg. I'm a Bloomberg junkie, and so I try to catch a little bit of Bloomberg news every day. People think about Bloomberg as just a financial services tool, but I've actually been to their headquarters in New York. It is a giant media operation, and it is media specifically geared at companies, business, and capital markets. So get the Bloomberg app. It's free. Download it onto your phone. Look at it every single day. If you're not sure you're interested in finance, another thing you can do is set aside a small amount of money and start a little tiny portfolio. So for example, you can use Robinhood. Put $500 in, pick 4 or 5 stocks, and just follow them. You don't have to actually have a metric for understanding them, but put them on your phone, follow them, and just pay attention to how those stocks react and try to connect everything that they're doing to what you see going on in the world. And so that's not really a book to read, but that's a thing that you can do that can help make that real-time connection. Other resources that you can use, particularly as a student in the Carlson Funds enterprise, is we have about 40 to 45 industry professionals who work with us directly as mentors and as advisors to our fund. And that's a resource that the students are sometimes a little shy about taking advantage of, but it's a really important tool. So even if you are just considering joining something like the Funds Enterprise, come talk to us and we can open up the list of mentors because they're a tremendous resource. There's so much going on in the finance space right now, and I think among the most important things is the impact that technology or fintech is having on the way we do business in finance. So in the wealth management business, or even in the asset management business, artificial intelligence is being used to help create algorithms for advising clients on what they ought to do with their portfolios. On the trading side, there are algorithms that are being used to actually make the trades themselves. And so many of the trades that go through both the equity and the fixed income markets now are unseen by human eyes. But even in the investment banking landscape, which people thought was higher value added and therefore sort of untouchable, we're finding that algorithms can be used to help guide that decision making as well. So I think there are areas of technology that are impacting every single corner of the financial space. And so that all sounds a little bit scary, but I think I'm confident that there are many jobs in this space, but the nature of those jobs is going to have to understand. The nature of those jobs is going to have to evolve. You're going to have some understanding of technology and how to work with a coder. You might not need to know how to code yourself, but you're going to have to understand the output. You're going to have to understand how to communicate and so that you can work with a quantitative team on defining problems. I think the financial services industry is trying very, very hard to evolve. I think there's a lot of opportunity for them to work with a more diverse group of people. It's been difficult, and I think part of that is because they are very, very conservative organizations generally, which means they are slow to change their practices from the past. But I think over the last couple of years, we've seen an important shift in the way they are approaching this problem. They really are now starting to devote resources to how to recruit and develop and retain a diverse workforce. And so I think they've made steps in the right direction, but I think there's still a long way to go. And I just would encourage anybody who thinks they might have an interest in this field, I think you need to hold yourself accountable for exploring career opportunities. Don't count yourself out because you think people don't look like you. I really think there's a lot of opportunity going forward. And so you can join with us as we try to work towards a better solution.